Good morning, everybody. So we'll just wait a few minutes for other people to join whilst we've just opened up, because there's quite a few of you joining today. In the meantime, I'll introduce you to Jeanette Van Roy from Prime Clean. Good morning, Jeanette.
Hi, Hannah. Hi, everybody. I hope you're enjoying Yeah, good, thanks, Hannah. It's a bit blustery outside, I see, at the moment.
Yeah. Yeah, it's our bin day, and our bins are wheelie bins, and they're flying all over the streets.
Oh, it's
quite fun to watch. So Jeanette's going to talk us through the world of contract management, which is something I think most office managers, if not all office managers, will face in their careers, where we have to tender, where we have to understand some of the acronyms like KPIs and SLAs, and some tips and advice on how to ensure you know what you're doing and the best steps to take to make sure you sign a healthy contract. So Jeanette is from Prime Clean, who are one of our partners in the portal, and she can tell you a little bit more about their services at the end. Or if you've got any questions, do use the chat to say hello to us and say good morning. Use the Q&A if you've got any questions as well, whichever method you prefer, chat or Q&A, and Jeanette will take you through it. So Jeanette, over to you.
Thanks, Hannah. Well, it really is lovely to be here, and I really appreciate Hannah organising this for me. And, you know, contract management, as Hannah said, it's not easy. It's a world of lots of different suppliers that you've got to really navigate your business through. And choosing the right service partner is never easy. Obviously, we are on the other side. We are a service partner, but we've learnt a lot, and certainly communicating with clients of their experiences with contracts is quite a minefield and quite interesting, actually. I've been quite surprised. One is, you know, sadly, people aren't always transparent, which is always disappointing, and tends to put a wee dampness on the contract world. But I'm just really here to just sort of give you some tips and advice. I'm certainly not here just to promote Prime Clean at all, because, you know, there is so much to learn. But first of all, choosing the right service partner. And please do come in and ask any questions. So when you have to make that decision and you've decided that you have got to go out to the market and choose a new supplier, where do you start? That's the first thing. Where do you go? I mean, you're very, very fortunate because you're part of the office management portal, which is fantastic because you've always got the guidance of Hannah and the team. But if you didn't have that, where else do you go? I mean, you go onto a website and, for example, you ask, you know, you're looking for a coffee machine and you start to Google coffee machines on the website, then it just opens it up. And how do you know how good those particular companies are? So it is a minefield. So however, you have got the guidance of the office management group. I mean, can you believe, and certainly in the cleaning world, there are actually almost 1,200 cleaning companies in London only. So it's you know, there's a lot of choice out there. So the first thing is obviously when you choosing the right service partners, you've got to consider what your proposal and your tenders are going to be, then making the right decision and going into the mobilisation, because that's the starting point. Then I'm going to talk to you about contract evolution, account management, communications, KPIs, which is key performance indicators, transparency, and contract reviews. So I'm going to move on to the next slide. Sorry if I'm a little bit, that's it, that's good. Okay, so proposals and tenders. What sort of information? I mean, the key objective is for everybody is to find a long-term partnership, you know, that provides you value for money, and most importantly, that you're getting an excellent service and a great service experience. So the preparation of proposals and tenders, the first step is to agree. And you can do that with your colleagues, you can do it yourself. So if I was to use cleaning as an example, you have lots of different tasks within that office. What do you want that cleaning company to do? Just list it. That's all you need to do, is list it and how often you would like that to be cleaned, that area. Maybe daily, it may be, in some cases, you've got staircases, that might be weekly. So you've got to really think about that, because before you go into the market, that can make a difference to the cost. So, and even as simple as collecting the crockery. Do you want the cleaning company to collect the crockery for you? Yes or no? Because there is time involved with that. Do you have a dishwasher? Yeah. If you don't, then that's going to take time for the cleaner to clean and wash those pots. So there's all this detail, but it's also, you know, you've also got your current cleaning company to give you a bit of guidance as well, and they should, because if they're a good company, they will support you. And I think it's always good to be open and honest with them that you are going out and you're going to be testing the market, and you need their support and making sure that you are getting the right information together so that you get an accurate comparison, because otherwise it's not fair on the company that you have already cleaning for you. So just request as much information as you can. The other area that I don't know if you are familiar with, but every cleaner that's assigned to your contract, or it doesn't have to be just cleaning, it can be M&E, which is mechanical and engineering. You may have an engineer on site, but it's, you know, and they are assigned to that contract. That person has a legal right to transfer over to the new company. And that isn't open for negotiation. Now, it may be that cleaner is not particularly very good. You still can't turn around and say, I don't want that person, just by changing the cleaning company. That that cleaner has the right to transfer over. So when you are collecting your information, you've done your specification, you've probably got the cleaning schedules from your current cleaning company. You also need to request from them their CHUPI information, which is basically not the cleaner's name, so it doesn't, you know, overlap with GDPR. It's purely, all you want to do is you want to know how many hours that person is cleaning and what is their hourly rate, and so how many hours. So for example, how many hours they're cleaning, 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours per night, how many days a week, of course, and what are they paying them per hour. And then thirdly, you need to know what, you know, with those hours, when are they actually cleaning? Is it morning, or is it in the evening? Is it from 6 till 7, or is it, you know, early morning, 5 till 7? So all that information, it's important that they provide that for you. Again, this will enable you to get the accurate information so that you are comparing properly when it comes to benchmarking your proposals. So the next step is really just checking your current contract terms. You'll be surprised how many people do go out to the market and then realise that they've got a contract in place. So if you don't have one, then request a copy of your contract, and then you fully understand what the notice period is. Now, there are some dubious contracts out there. So for example, if you don't give 3 months in advance notice prior to the contract coming to an end, then it can roll on for another 12 months. So you know, you do need to know, and I would recommend anyway that you know all your contracts, really understand them. It's so important, and then at least you know you're in control. And once you've given them notice, and you need to really give notice almost immediately if you are going to market. And it's not meaning that you're going to cancel, and you can say this to your supplier, but it gives you the flexibility. So as I say, what you don't want to do is you go and choose another company and they're great, and you find out that you're locked into a contract. So yeah, really understand the contract terms. The next step is really assessing what services you require in that contract. So for example, in our world, as in cleaning world, sometimes it's not just about the daily office cleaning. It may be that you might want to consider carpet cleanings, regular carpet cleaning, or internal window cleaning. Or it may be, you know, IT cleaning, which specialists could potentially be specialists. So you need to really think about what you want to include. It could be washroom services. So you have, you know, your washrooms in your demised area. So just really just checking that you may need sanitary units within those toilets. So it's little things like that. So think about what services you require within the contract, because it's so much easier to sort of try and bundle as much as you can in one agreement, because it reduces paperwork. And obviously you've also then only working with one point of contact. So the next step is the actual proposal. I mean, there are two different directions. There's the formal tenders. Tenders tend to be for larger contracts, and you know, you send out a pre-qualification to see firstly if that contractor has all the right qualifications for your business before they even tender. So it is a lot more formal. And as I say, it depends on how many, you know, how large the contract is. So I've actually probably narrowed it down to more proposal documentation. So it's really looking at the proposal and how you want to present that to the market. So once you've narrowed down who you want to submit costs or a proposal, which you probably may have some guidance from Hannah, you may have had some recommendation from somebody in the office that's worked with another cleaning company. Those are the sort of things. I mean, certainly recommendation is absolutely, it's useful. It really is useful because they've had a past experience with this particular company. So, you know, ask around, and I would probably go with, and again, it depending on the size of the contract, 3 to 5 companies that you could ask for proposals. I mean, to be honest with you, 3 would be, it is ample. So then go to the market. So the actual documentation, so what you'd like them to do when they send their documentation, you obviously present themselves, a company introduction, a little bit about them, how large they are, their account management, and within that account management, who's going to be responsible for your contract, what's the support that person's going to get to be able to deliver a great service. So account management is really important. Site specific requirements. So it may be that your particular office has a particular requirement. So you may have a question that links to, you may have a CEO who sits in an office and he works from quirky hours. Then you may want to say to them, well, please explain to me how you would be able to resolve this, because that office needs to be cleaned but our CEO works from these hours. So, you know, throw that problem to the company and get them to resolve it for you. And that will give you some guidance if, you know, if they can solve problems. Technology is really important. Are they investing in technology? Are they keeping up to date with what's happening out there? Because there is lots of different technologies out there that supports a service delivery. So, for example, you know, if you have a cleaner, are they logging in and out so you know that they are spending the time on the contract? Because obviously a lot of people are working out of hours. Auditing technology is also important. And also testing of making sure that people are making sure that they can legally work in the country. So there's technology to support that. So there is lots of technology out there. What you don't want to do is find you have a company that doesn't use anything at all, because that technology is key to really making sure you provide, you know, the company provides you with a great service. Health and safety, you know, is that something that the company is, you know, looking at? Because it is, and particularly with COVID, you know, policies, making sure that they providing risk assessments, cost, and supporting documentation. So they need to really explain that to you about their health and safety. Do they have accreditations? Because accreditations are not easy to get. And it's all, a lot of it revolves around quality. And that stems from health and safety right through to, let me just see, credit, you know, so from a social responsibility. So there is a lot involved. And going into corporate responsibility, sustainability, you know, that's another area that you do need support in, and making sure that they are looking at these things, that they are trying to come up with sustainable solutions. So, for example, waste management, recycling, can they support you in these areas? And the other thing is innovation. So it's about, you know, making sure that the business that you choose is always, as I said to you before about technology, is innovative, and they don't stand still, and they're looking. So, for example, again, in our world, are they looking at new products, new types of equipment, if that's required in your office? So it's interesting as well. You want a company that provides this information for you and makes the contract interesting. So at least it's something you may not decide to bring it, you know, and introduce it, but at least you know it's there. And obviously, importantly, is the cost proposal. How do you want that presenting? So when I say a compliance, so once you have the TUPE information, you've got all the TUPE information, you provide them with the cleaning specification, the TUPE information, which of course includes the hours of work. Then you will have an exact cost, so you'll be able to weigh up exactly what you're currently paying versus what they can provide for you. Sorry, my fault, I haven't switched the phone off. So it's making sure that you're on a level playing field. So that is the compliant bit. Then I suggest, and I've always said this to customers, that, you know, also ask for a commercial option. And when I say a commercial option is, well, what would you recommend? You know, okay, I've got the compliant bit. I can then gauge how much that company is making versus the other companies. So what would they also suggest that might provide value, or do something and look at it slightly differently? And that's what we called a commercial option. So you've got the two options. And finally, if it is a company that you are not familiar with at all, please ask for a couple of references. Make sure that they do provide you with references. and not just a reference that is a letter, that you actually have the client's contact details, you can email them, and then you can obtain that information directly from their client. So hopefully that has given you a wee bit of an insight to the preparation. So it's not straightforward, and you know, when you are looking at changing contractors, preparing for that is really important. Then secondly, it's the process. So once the document's gone out, your proposal, you've sent your proposal out, and keep it simple, even though there seems a lot there. I mean, those are it can be very simplistically presented. I don't want you to think that's quite, because it is covering quite a lot, but it's not, because, you know, if they are a good company, they will have all that information. And also, yeah, just make sure that they have to think a little bit about your proposal. That what you don't want is just a copy and paste. You know, you want to make sure that they are really, what they put together is for your office, not necessarily, you know, everybody else's that they've sent a proposal to in the last few years. So then this is allow 2 weeks for the document to be returned, because you do want them to put a bit of thought into it and give them a return date. And if they don't send it within that return date, then you've just got to sort of question if they are the right company to work with. Also, if you've, and I don't think, again, if it's a new company, it may be that within your proposal, you may ask them to come and survey the premises. And it is useful, certainly in our world, the cleaning world. And it also gives you the opportunity to meet the company as well. And it will help the company who's presenting or proposing to make sure that they have, you know, they've seen the office and they can perhaps come up with a, you know, a good commercial option. Thirdly is, I would definitely introduce presentations if it is a larger contract. So that's the other option. So, but I would only do that, as I say, if it is, you know, a large contract for you. But again, if you've had them in and they're all surveyed, then you will have met them, which is always useful. I don't suppose anybody's got any questions at all. I'm sort of just leave it 2 seconds just to see if anybody's got a question. No? Let me just check. No. Right, so, but please do, you know, any questions, and then hopefully I can answer them for you. So making the right decision. So you've got your proposals in, and the next step is, and I think it doesn't have to be just yourself, but if you've got another colleague, maybe 2 or 3 of you all look at the proposals. But then I think you need to put a clear process on what's important to your office. So it's what we call benchmarking, so that you can score each category. So for example, cost, right? So that company is that important to you, and they're the cheapest, well, then you would probably give them a higher score. The proposal, so you may have a proposal that's beautifully presented and you feel that there's been a lot of thought put into that, then that would score high. And then you can just benchmark it. So just really just put a little table together, and then, you know, you and a couple of colleagues, you can probably just then score it, and that will help you make the decision. And it makes it more tangible as well. It sort of strips out the emotion. So the other thing is, of course, is when you're making the right decision is the actual relationship with that service partner. Do you have a connection with the account management who you've met hopefully by then, and the company, because you've got to work with these people. You've got to trust them. You've got to feel, you know, that they're going to help you. What you don't want to do is engage with a company that's just going to create more work for you. So, you know, connection is really, really important. So, and you will be able to assess that pretty quickly, I'm sure. The other area is, what is their knowledge? Have they got knowledge and experience? Because often, you know, people will come in and they'll say a lot of things, but, you know, are they providing you with the information that you require that will help you run your contract? So industry knowledge as well, again, information, being able to share good information from the market, and actually knowing. So for example, you may have certain surfaces, certainly with cleaning, do they know how they would clean that? You know, those are sort of questions that you can ask, certainly if they come in and survey. And, you know, it can be as simple as carpet spotting, believe it or not, in cleaning. You'll be surprised how many cleaning companies don't train their people on how to remove marks from the carpet. So it's all that information, and you will gauge that when you meet these companies. The quality of the proposal, obviously we've covered that, really important. Don't let them cut and paste. If you feel you sense it's sort of cut and paste situation, then you know, it's and someone else has put a lot of thought into it, then all of a sudden you've got a differentiation between two companies. Understand who their client portfolio is. What you don't want to do is find a company that may only have 2 other clients. I know every company has to start with customers, but you know, there is a higher risk there. Are they going to survive? So client portfolio, ask them who are their clients, who do they look after. Contracts, do they have contracts in the area that you are? Because, you know, if you need a response and you need someone to visit your site, you don't want to be waiting for, you know, 3 days, 5 days for them to come and see you. If it's an emergency, you want somebody to be able to respond very, very quickly. So contracts in the area is quite important. And client retention, do they know what their client retention is? Because obviously that's a gauge. It's fine winning business, but the most important thing is retaining it. Then staff welfare, do they look after their people? Sadly, there are a lot of companies out there that don't look after their teams. And of course, that just creates turnover, which then can create disruption within your contract. So it is important that they are looking after their employees, demonstrating safe working practices. So, for example, are they providing, you know, PPE, a welfare helpline? I mean, especially in the world we're in at the moment, there's a lot of stress and anxiety out there. Are they getting the right support? Communication, not everybody speaks English. Are they communicating in their own language, making sure that their employees know exactly what's expected, they fully understand what their position and their role is within that contract, any kind of communication from head office, do they understand what that is? So, you know, communication is really important, and that's not just with obviously with our clients, it's as much with our employees. I mean, for example, a lot of we have lots of WhatsApp groups, which is just ongoing communication, so that people can communicate and they ask for something, we can respond quickly and make sure we get the problem solved. Training, are they training their people? The training is absolutely key. You know, we have to be able to, training and making sure that they're getting refresher training. They know what cloths to use in which areas, so that there's no cross-contamination. They know what chemical to use for areas. So, the training and the development of their staff is very important. Staff retention, what is their staff retention? Do they retain their people? Is that something that they are managing, or are they just churning? Which again, as I said, that otherwise it will impact on your contract. So moving on. Once you've appointed a contractor, it's paramount they have a good start. Very, very difficult when a contract doesn't start off well, and really difficult to be able to pull that back, certainly for the contractor and for the client, because all of a sudden, you're expecting them to deliver a service from day one and they're not even organised. So before they start, have they given you scheduled of work? So schedules, making sure that you know what guidance that person is getting when they're working in your office. So make sure that they provide you with scheduled of work. They've introduced you to the personnel involved in the contract. You know who they are. You can speak to them personally. Site documentation, they're providing you with, the information which should sit on site, which is your COSH and your risk assessments, your policies. That information is there for that employee who's working at the office. And fourthly, clear timelines, that if there is any structural changes, that they have a very clear HR process and they're explaining that to you on what is happening and how it's going to happen. So, for example, if you have a cleaner who has worked 3 hours a day and it's going to be reduced to 2 hours, what is that process? What are they doing to make sure that happens, but they're treating the employee fairly? Does anybody have any questions at all? No. Account management. I think probably all the contracts that we have won is, and I've gone and talked to the clients on, what made you make the change. A lot of it has been down to poor account management. If you've got no one to talk to and you've got a problem and you're finding it difficult to get hold of somebody, automatically stress starts to kick in, especially if it's an emergency, and it's a horrible feeling, and all you want it to do is just go away and be resolved because you've got other things to do. So account management and their communication and responses to your request and you will also gauge that through the process as well, that they are communicating with you when you go to tender. So, just that response and making sure that, when you ask a question, they get back to you as soon as possible. Solving problems quickly. I mean, there is always problems. We can never avoid it. And certainly in the cleaning world, we're humans, and unfortunately can be fickle, and from day to day you don't really know what you're going to get, and so problems will occur, but it's really down to how that account manager solves that problem and keeping you up to date on how they've solved the problem. So again, alleviating all this stress and proactively. So they are proactive. What you don't want is as an account manager that they come in and they see you and you start the contract and you never see them again, or you never hear from them. what you expect is that person to be proactively involved. Well, that person and the team involved with your contract, that they're going in and they're checking, for example, in our world, the cleaning. So it is important, because, you know, with again, people do become complacent, and that's just a reality. And it's making sure that we're making sure that, you know, things are happening how they should be happening. That's not your job, that's the account manager's job, and that's what you're paying them to do. So, you know, make sure that they are, you know, proactive. And if not, and if you're struggling with that, then you may need to speak to somebody in that company, somebody more senior, and say to them, this has to change. You know, so hopefully it won't get to that, because you will have made the right decision in the first place. So, you know, but definitely you're looking for a very proactive account management, a great service experience. And, you know, what you don't want is an account manager that you sort of dread speaking to or seeing, and that they're defensive, and, you know, you've got a problem, or you're nervous about complaining to them because you're not sure what response you're going to get. That's not a great service experience. That's just stress that you don't need. You know, you want to be able to, you know, you want to enjoy talking to people, and particularly a service partner, and you know, just feeling that you can email or pick up a phone, and, you know, you're going to get the response that you would expect them to get, that you would expect to get. So, and that's all part of this service experience. Right, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to come off the presentation. So I'm going to stop share, and I'm going to show you. Unfortunately, I tried to copy and paste it and put it within the PowerPoint, but the writing was too small. But I'm just going to give you an example of a key performance indicator, which we use on at a contractor's site. Obviously, I've taken names out. So I'm just going to stop sharing the screen for a second, and show you, hopefully you can see this clearly. So this is a typical KPI, and this is with a client that we look after, and this is assessed every month. It is a large contract, and we discuss the key performance indicators. You know, how are we performing as a business? It's, you know, what you don't want is just somebody to, you know, just carry on and just think it's just about cleaning. Well, it's not. There's a lot more involved in it. So I'll just give you a flavour of this particular one, as you can see. So you've got the key here. Is it unacceptable, below standard, at agreed standard, or exceeds all services? Now, anything in this case, anything that goes above that or under that, then an explanation needs to be provided under comments. So you can see here, this is what the client has requested and how they're measuring us as a contract provider. So as you can see, this, sorry, but it is cleaning again. So you can, it sort of gives you a flavour. So the cleaning standards, are we reacting? I mean, you can read it as we go. The service delivery. So if, for example, what would be attendance? So if we didn't, so if somebody went off sick, was that person covered? If not, well, then that's a score down. And then you have to put an explanation on why that person wasn't covered. Are they wearing a uniform? Does everybody in that office or premises know who that person is? And of course, that's clearly defined with a uniform. The cleanliness, tidiness, which goes with the cleaning standards. Customer service. I mean, in this case, there is obviously waste management involved. Communication. Training. Are they providing training? And then just the management, the account management around that. I mean, obviously this is a lot more detail, but it just hopefully gives you a flavour of you know, what KPIs and how other companies are measuring contractors. And of course, this can apply to any service. All you have to do is be quite specific on how you want to measure that company. Financials, initiatives, obviously covering innovation, and then CSR, and then overall, then it calculates a score at the end of it. So that's what we and how we are measured in this particular contract. And it's not just this one, there are many contracts that we have KPIs. And it's great because it does take out the emotion, it's tangible, and it's a discussion point. And if something's below par, then, you know, you would expect that company to come up with a solution and a plan on how it's going to be resolved and how it's not going to happen again. So it's just building, it's basically building bricks. So I'm going to stop sharing the screen and I'm going to go into the screen to the presentation again. Okay. Hopefully you can all see that. Okay, so I'm just slip on to the next slide. Contract reviews, and I do recommend everybody to do a periodic contract review. I mean, we have contracts that we have reviews every single month. It may not be required in some offices. I mean, quarterly may be enough, or 6 monthly. But when you do have a contract review, it's making sure that, you know, they provide you with the right information and you can measure and you can assess how they're going. And also starting really with allocating time to review the contract. I mean, whatever size contract is that you are spending money with this company, and you need to make sure they are providing you value, and allowing time to just sit down and with the contractor to understand how it's going, I think will definitely help with the stress levels, because you know it's happening and you may need to report information to your management team, and you've got it there. You know, you'll have that information from your contractor. So what you're looking for is transparency. You want absolute open honesty, open book. Really important that they are transparent. You review the progress of the contract. I'll show you an example in a minute of that would be a monthly report, but it would just give you a flavour of some contract reviews that are happening. An opportunity also to spend time with your service partner, because often everybody's just rushing around and there's never time to actually just sit down and talk about the contract. You know, does it need to change in any way? So again, just and building that relationship as well. Market update, really good, and you know, steer it. Make sure that they are giving you market information. What are other offices doing? Certainly with COVID, it's always interested to know how is that cleaning company supporting other, you know, clients with COVID and protecting their employees. Is there any great practices out there that they could be sharing with you? I mean, because remember, these contractors are talking to so many people I can't tell you how many people I talk to on a daily basis, and not necessarily verbally, but by email. And so, you know, you retain quite a bit of information that, you know, can be shared. So, you know, again, that gives you the opportunity to do that. And finally, just evolution is, you know, is the contract evolving? I mean, innovation has, you know, that making sure that obviously they are innovative, but that has unfortunately a limitation to it. But evolution and making sure that they're evolving the contract, they're coming up with different suggestions for you, that it's not becomes just completely stale, that, you know, they know, for example, that even the cleaning times, is that working? You know, you need that guidance from your contractor. They need to be able to support you in this and provide the information that will help, you know, evolve your contract and making sure that it's evolving and changing as your office is changing. It may be that you end up reducing, you know, you're not having as many people. I think that's what we're seeing. So, you know, is that contract supporting, you know, those changes? It may be that, so in the cleaning world, that you have less people in on a Monday and a Friday. So is there flexibility and, you know, longer hours when people are in? So more hours while they're clean, you know, while people are in, those sort of Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, but then maybe Friday night, there's only an hour. So it's really just that adjustment. And as I say, you do need that information, and that is really evolution and supporting you with these forever changing times. Right, so that is the end of my presentation. I'd love to know, has anybody got any questions at all? No? Well, it really is, it's lovely to have been given the opportunity to present to you. I'm sorry I sounded a wee bit waffly. It's all a little bit strange actually communicating electronically. But it's, hopefully I've given you some tips, and please, by all means, you can get hold of there's Bobby. Oh, that's good. Thank you, Bobby. Would I always recommend having comparisons? Yeah, I would. Because I think, one, it gives you peace of mind. I'm assuming when it comes to comparisons, Michelle, are you meaning price comparisons or comparisons with companies? But I think even so, both is really, really useful. You know, it's great to have a comparison. But the main thing is, with comparisons, make sure you've got all the information, because you may have one company, and that's why it's important you know how much the cleaners are being paid, so that you are weighing apples with apples, that it's not just somebody's paying, you know, minimum wage and the other person's paying London living wage. So really, really important. So yes, definitely, I would recommend it. And thank you very much for your feedback. I hope you have found it useful. And, you know, please do email me anytime. And if I can answer any questions for you, I will try. And it's lovely to be involved. Take care. Thank you.